take back the streets. It doesn't matter whether or not the person that is accosting your son or daughter or my son or daughter, my wife, your husband, my mother, your parents. It doesn't matter whether or not they were deprived as a youth. It doesn't matter or not whether or not they had no background that enabled them to become socialized into the fabric of society. It doesn't matter whether or not they're the victims of society. The end result is they're about to knock my mother on the head with a lead pipe, shoot my sister, beat up my wife, take on my sons. So I don't want to ask what made them do this. They must be taken off the street. That's number one. There's a consensus on that. Unless we do something about that cadre of young people, tens of thousands of them, born out of wedlock, without parents, without supervision, without any structure, without any conscience developing, because they literally, I yield myself 3 more minutes, because they literally have not been socialized. They literally have not had an opportunity. We should focus on them now. If we don't, they will, or a portion of them will, become the predators 15 years from now. And Madam President, we have predators on our streets that society has, in fact, in part because of its neglect, created. Again, it does not mean because we created them that we somehow forgive them or do not take them out of society to protect my family and yours from them. They are beyond the pale, many of those people. Beyond the pale. And it's a sad commentary on society. We have no choice but to take them out of society. And the truth is, we don't very well know how to rehabilitate them at that point. That's the sad truth. I'm the guy that said, rehabilitation, when it occurs, we don't understand it and notice it. And even when we notice it and we know it occurs, we don't know why. So you cannot make rehabilitation a condition for release. That's why in our system, the federal system, you serve 85% of your time. It's a shame, but we don't know how to rehabilitate. But there is a consensus, and I will cease. A, we must make the streets safer. I don't care why someone is a malefactor in society. I don't care why someone is antisocial. I don't care why they become a sociopath. We have an obligation to cordon them off from the rest of society, try to help them, try to change their behavior. That's why we do in this bill. We have drug treatment and we have other treatments to try to deal with it. But they are in jail, away from my mother, your husband, our families. But we would be absolutely stupid as a society if we didn't recognize the condition that nurtured those folks still exist, and we must deal with that.
B1 brothers and sisters, welcome to Blacklogic. We're going to do a quick rundown of all the accusations that Donald Trump has been through since he came on the scene in the early 1970s. Because we need to understand the construct in which we're living in and how that these allegations now, him taking the mugshot, is just a sheer representation of symbolism to give black people to once again vote Democrat. This is just using the system of white supremacy, the system of anti-blackness and fear-mongering in order for black folk to once again vote Democrat, to make the Republicans, to make Donald Trump the bad guy. As once we say always that white supremacy is on both sides of the coin. Nonetheless, back in 1973, the United States Department of Justice sued Donald Trump and his father, Fred Trump, alleging that they had discriminated against black people as well as Hispanics in renting apartments in New York City. The Trumps eventually settled the case without admitting any guilt. That means they settled out of court. That means somebody got the bag. Donald Trump also has been accused of sexual misconduct at least by 25 women, including rape, sexual assault, and sexual harassment. Now, these allegations date back to the early 70s and include women who were employees, models, beauty pageant contestants, as well as associates and friends within the Trump household. When it comes to business fraud, Trump had been accused of a number of business frauds, including inflating the value of his assets, making false promises to investors, and stiffing contractors. And now all of these allegations have been the subject of numerous lawsuits, but Trump has never been convicted of any crimes. Tax evasion. Yeah, let's talk about that, because Trump has been accused of tax evasion as well, including underpaying his taxes and using fraudulent schemes to avoid paying taxes. These allegations have been the subject of ongoing investigations by the New York State Attorney General's office. And even though when Trump was in office, he even stated he only paid $700 within 3 years for taxes, and stated that he wasn't doing anything crooked, undermining, simply that he was smart and those people who work for him. Campaign finance violations. Trump has been accused of violating campaign finance laws, including using his own money to pay hush money to women who accuse him of sexual misconduct. Now, a lot of these things we already knew, and none of these things landed Trump taking a mugshot, landed Trump being indicted, landed Trump in some sort of criminal enterprise, as well as these so-called RICO charges that him, his cronies, and these other guys who are thugs within the political arena essentially going to. These allegations are currently being investigated by the Department of Justice, as well as the Department of Justice that resides in Georgia. Now, incitement of insurrection, the most recent charges that he's been accused of, right? Inciting that the January 6, 2021 attack on the U.S. Capitol by his supporters. Now, we understand he's currently facing a number of criminal court charges related to his indictment. Now, these are some of the accusations that have been made against Donald Trump, and it's important to note that he has denied all of these allegations and has never been convicted of any crime. When it comes to Donald Trump, he believes that, according to his track record, he is above the law. He believes that he can say one thing and do another, and that he is not held to that same letter of the law, in which, as the president of the United States and also being the former president of the United States, that he should be treated as you and I would if some of these same allegations was coming upon us. And Biden isn't really any better. It's just that Biden has been in the political space for quite some time, so he has been protected by the law, whereas though Donald Trump has always been known as a shrewd businessman, really playing between the lines, gray and white and red, meaning that he has been accused of a lot of things that, even though he has not been convicted of, he is settled out of court, not admitting that he was guilty, but nonetheless paying the bag in order for people to stay quiet so it doesn't come as public as it already is. Now, when we look at President Joe Biden, there's not really a large comparison, but when we start to bring up some of the things that he have done with legislation, then you will understand the comparison, because some of the very light things that people may say is the plagiarism in law school back in the 1960s, because during his law school years, Biden faced accusations of plagiarism in a paper he submitted. The issue resurfaced during the 1988 presidential campaign when he was accused of plagiarizing speeches from other politicians. That's right. When you see Sleepy Joe up on the stand, he doesn't really resound as a very intelligent person, does he not? He almost seems like he's going to go to sleep on you, and he's always reaching and searching for things to say when he's not looking at the teleprompter. Now, in 1991, Anita Hill, Biden, as the chairman of the Senate of the Judiciary Committee, was criticized for his handling of the confirmation hearings for the Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas, the well-known legal coon, as we know. Now, Anita Hill accused Thomas of sexual harassment, and some felt Biden did not do enough to support her. So again, these are kind of like light lashes on the wrist, so to speak. But one of the most prominent things that Joe Biden, as well as Bill Clinton was a part of in constructing and implementing and passing was the 1994 crime bill. See, Biden played a key role in the passage of the 1994 crime bill, which landed a lot of innocent black men and black women in jail for the rest of their lives, some of which have not been exonerated. Now, when you look at the rate of black people who have been incarcerated, the percentage of black people who are currently in jail, and then you look at those who have been exonerated from projects like the Innocent Projects, you know that we are 3 times more wrongfully convicted than any other group. That is what is important here, because the 1994 crime bill, which has faced criticism for its impact on mass incarceration of predominantly foundational black Americans, those U.S. freedmen, that's only the tip of the iceberg, because in my opinion, and from my fact finding and my research, has been solidified by statistics stating that Joe Biden has single-handedly, with his cronies as well as Bill Clinton, has single-handedly decimated the black family, decimated the black community, decimated the black business, where we are not in control of our own resources, our own finances. In saying the comparison against these two, who has done greater damage? Some are going to say with Donald Trump, his discrimination with the Central Park Five. That should not go unnoticed, because that is once again anti-blackness. That's once again anti-black rhetoric that landed those 5 young men in jail for a very, very long time without any evidence to support the claims therein. But we have to understand the bigger picture here, family, as who has done more destruction, more decimating, more undermining of the black community, and it has been Joe Biden. I'm not stating that Donald Trump is any better. I'm not stating that you should go out and vote for Donald Trump. I'm not stating that because of the current times of the insurrection of January 6th of 2021, that you should then go out and vote for Joe Biden. I'm stating this and this alone. This election here, family, we should be voting for a couple of things. And the most important thing you already know, and that's reparations. We should also have an anti-hate crime bill that protects foundational black Americans. But let me get on, because the allegations of inappropriate touching for Biden, a lot of those things never came to whim, because several women came forward to accuse Joe Biden of inappropriate touching or invading their personal space. Now, Biden subsequently acknowledged the issue and pledged to be more mindful of personal boundaries, but of course, he never admitted any guilt whatsoever. What about Ukraine? Biden faced allegations of conflict of interest relating to his son Hunter Biden's involvement, which is going on current day, with the Ukrainian energy company Burisma Holdings. Critics claim that Biden used his position as vice president to benefit his son. And that is coming to pass as well. So look out for charges coming to that, especially as this new 24-25 presidential election is coming underway. He also had allegations with Tara Reid. A former Senate staffer accused Biden of sexual assault back in the 1990s. Of course, Biden denied the allegations, and the accusations became a contentious issue during the 2020 presidential campaign. Now, there are some other things to really look at, because even though we listed out all the accusations of Trump, all the accusations of Biden, then we must kind of look at some of those things that comes to light that really puts a spotlight on Donald Trump in particular. Because what we're seeing right now is a justice system work in a very demonic way, because they made these rules to prosecute and persecute black people. And now black people who are essentially the cronies, essentially all those black people in white spaces to carry out these same charges to white people, now they're crying foul, are they not? But when I look at some of the things that has been brought against Trump, like Trump various business ventures, including casinos and hotels, which faced multiple bankruptcies during his period, which still has him to be a billionaire. He got out of that totally fine and cool. What about the Access Hollywood tape Back in 2005, the recording of Trump making lewd and sexual explicit comments about women was released during the 26th presidential campaign, causing significant controversy. Remember the tape when he was on the bus with a bunch of his business buddies and he was like, oh, I just go up to beautiful women and kiss them on the mouth. I go up to beautiful women and grab their pussy. Those things went unlooked. Did any accusations or any indictments or anything come up on the justice system? No, it did not. No, it did not. Now, some people would say this is a ploy so Donald Trump could never be the president of the United States of America again. And this is then again another ploy to keep Sleepy Joe in office, to keep doing the anti-black rhetoric and settlements and legislation he's been allowed to pass since he's been in office. These are the things that we must look at, family. Yeah, because when it comes to Donald Trump, what about the Russian interference investigations back in 2016 and 2019? Because those allegations of collusions between Trump 2016 presidential campaign and Russia to lead a lengthy investigation by special counsel Robert Mueller, remember him? And what happened to Robert Mueller? Because remember back in 2019, all of a sudden, Robert Mueller stepped down. The investigation did not even establish a criminal conspiracy. Now, we have to look at Donald Trump because what's significant as well as in 2019 was Trump impeachment by the House of Representatives back in December during that time. And those charges of abuse of power and obstruction of Congress related to the Ukraine scandal. He was then again acquitted by the Senate in February of 2020. Now, handling of COVID-19 in 2020, of course, many critics accuse Trump of mishandling the COVID-19 pandemic, both in terms of public health and response and messaging. Also in 2020, election fraud, because Trump and his supporters or his mob squad made numerous unsubstantiated claims of widespread voter fraud in the 2020 presidential election, which lost to Joe Biden. The second impeachment, which a lot of people are not talking about, happened in 2021. Trump was impeached for a second time in January of 2021, this time on charges of incitement of insurrection related to the Capitol riot of January 6th of 2021. He was acquitted by the Senate once again. So essentially the things that are occurring right now is about voter fraud. It's not about the insurrection. It's not about sexual misconduct. It's not about the most fraudulent cases to get out from paying people to heal through bankruptcy. It's not about any of these things. So do you believe that Donald Trump is going to jail? Absolutely not. Now, some of his cronies, some of these people who are part of these so-called RICO charges are going to jail. Yeah, and I saw two dark faces in there. Look for them to really get strung out here. Look for them to really get hung out here. No pun intended, because here's the thing, family. Anytime you want to deal and play and roll around the system of white supremacy and anti-black, you are assumed to account for the sins in which you have done against your own people, let alone for those with the pale skin also be strung out just so they can rescue their commander and savior, Donald Trump. Now, when it comes to Donald Trump and Joe Biden, they're no friend of ours, and hopefully we're no friend of theirs, because I'm definitely not. When we vote this time, if we vote, it's for Black empowerment by the way of reparations and justice. That's the only thing that we can essentially obtain from this system of anti-Black and white supremacy. That is reparations, which we are owed, and justice. Don't let the current state of this nation be a distraction. Don't let these accusations and display of Donald Trump mugshot and that he's getting his just due subtract you for the symbolism, because what this is a useful distraction for the Democratic Party. What this is a useful distraction for liberals in order to keep anti-Black Joe Biden within office. Because when I look at the Democratic Party, when I look at the Republican Party, we have no friends. As Professor Black Truth always say, when the system of white supremacy are finished and done with their twos, they break them. And that's essentially going to happen with some of these black coon bootlicks within these different segments of the white supremacy political arena. And this is what we have to pay attention to. They're going to parade these faces on TV from this point on until the time of the next election so the American people can be reminded of what has been done by Donald Trump and his cronies and mobsters within. But family, Donald Trump has never been convicted of damn near any crime. And even though he was impeached twice, he has been acquitted. So when it comes to this family, there's not going to be any hardcore, concrete proof that Donald Trump had a significant role in voter fraud. He got away with the January 6, 2021 insurrection. He got away with sexual misconduct, sexual assault, sexual harassment allegations. He's blatantly got away with every single thing because I truly believe I truly believe that Donald Trump believes he's above the law. And there's going to be some black people out here that are going to defend Donald Trump, blacks for Trumps, and they're going to tell you that Donald Trump is going to be better for black people than Joe Biden has. Unless there's anything tangible on the table, family, then neither one of them are for us. Do not waste your vote and call upon the spirit of the ancestors and say, well, they died and bled for us to vote. They died, bled, and fought for the right to vote, meaning you have the option to vote. And the only way that foundational Black Americans can show the unification and organization and power that we possess within our vote is to stand 10 toes down on at least one or two things. And we all know what the first thing is. The first thing is the reparations that are owed to our people. And of course, the second thing is justice. Implementing an anti-hate crime bill, making Black Americans a protected class. If we do not unify and organize around at least two or even the one thing reparation, family, we're going to go through the same thing we have always been going through year in and year out. So vote for Black empowerment. Vote for reparations, and do not get distracted about this bullshit about Donald Trump. Don't get distracted about the symbolism of Joe Biden electing Black females to office, which does nothing for the community of Black people. For over 50 million foundational Black Americans, it only does those who are going to do the bidding of the white power structure by the way of symbolism being in position. Your family, my family are still living in squalor, still living low under the poverty line. But there is a repair that this U.S. government owe our people. Vote for justice, vote for reparations, vote for something is going to turn the system of white supremacy on its ass. This should be the last time that we continue to take the same bullshit from either side of the political spectrum, both red and blue, Republican and Democratic. You're not a Democrat and you're not a Republican. At this point in life, family, we're just Black and we should be voting for our best interests. Be one.
Listen, you got to come see us when you come to New York, VP Biden.
I will.
It's a long way until November. We got more questions.
You got more questions, but I tell you, if you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, then you ain't Black.